Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today I'm going to read Oxford Modern English, Book 5, Chapter number 2. So let's get started. Unit number 2. Does he remember? Words to know: bay, deep throated, lengthy bark; cacophony, harsh sound; determinedly, in a decided or resolved manner; emitted, gave out, light or sound; frantic, greatly excited, frenzied; fumbled, touched or handled awkwardly and uncertainly; illuminated, lit up; leash, a chain or strap attached to the collar of a dog; muse, to consider thoughtfully; prolonged, lengthy, drawn out; scrawled, written hastily and untidily; scurry, to go with light, running steps; wrenched, pulled roughly and with force; writhed, twisted and turned. Mike stood waiting at the garden gate. There was a padlock and chain on the gate. It was firmly locked. On the wall beside the gate there was a large round button. Above the button there was a sign that said "Bell." Mike had already pressed it once, but he now pressed it again. He had thought about climbing over the gate and entering the compound, but he knew that the large sign on the gate meant what it said: "Beware of dogs." Below the lettering of the sign, someone had scrawled, "They will have you for breakfast. They will have you for breakfast." Mike thought this was amusing, but he also knew that it might be true. Judging by the barking he could hear coming from the house, he was not going to take the risk and become food for these creatures. Besides, he was now too old to be climbing over gates. Perhaps the dogs had heard the bell ringing again, or possibly they had sensed their prey, for the baying became more frantic. It was not a yell or a howl, but a deep throated and prolonged baying. The animals were obviously hungry. Mike waited and mused about the old days. He shifted from one foot to the other, thinking about all the occasions he had visited this very house. Those were the good old days. Nabil was such good company. And those dogs of his, they were little puppies then. How he had teased them. How time had moved on. He was an adult now. At last, just as Mike was becoming a little annoyed, an old man came scurrying out of the side door of the house. He appeared, with his urgent shuffle, to be hurrying, but he took forever to reach the gate. On this seemingly long trip he searched all the while in one pocket after another. When he finally reached the gate, his smile indicated that he had found what he had been looking for: the key to the padlock. The old man fumbled with the keys and in due course opened the lock. The heavy gate squeaked and screeched as it was swung open with some difficulty. The old man to one side stood to one side to let Mike in. The old man stood to one side to let Mike in. He then used some effort to heave the gate shut again. It was apparent that the gate had not been opened in a long while. Mike waited for the old man to lock the gate. More fumbling, then he followed him to the front door. The baying from the depths of the house reached new heights. Mike made sure to keep close to the old man, determinedly staying a step behind him. On entering the hall, Mike was shown into a large, dark living room. The heavy curtains on the windows kept out the light. Although it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon and there was bright sunlight outside, a table lamp in one corner emitted a dull glow that partially illuminated a small section of the room. Mike could just make out the figure of someone sitting on the sofa near the lamp. "Hello, dear Mike," came a greeting from the shadowy form. "It's been many years." "Ah, Nabil, is that you?" asked Mike nervously. "Yes," came the reply. The baying continued, but since there was no visible movement in the room, Mike was hopeful that the hounds were behind a secure door somewhere. But he was not completely convinced that this was true. Mike edged forward towards Nabil. "Wait there, Mike," said Nabil. "The dogs have been locked in the bedroom, but old Marmaduke is asleep here beside me." "Marmaduke?" said Mike, aghast, stopping dead in his tracks. "The old Marmaduke, the dog I used to tease when he was just a pup?" "Yes," replied Nabil. "You remember Marmaduke?" "I I do," stuttered Mike. It's it's been a long time. I hope you have him on a leash. I remember I used to worry him no end." "I don't think he will remember that far back," said Nabil. "He's old and blind now and likes to sleep. And by the way, no, he's not on a leash." "Can you be sure?" asked Mike. "Sure of what?" asked Nabil. "That he is asleep. You can hear him snoring, can't you?" "No, no," whispered Mike. "Are you sure that he does not remember me?" Just then the snoring stopped abruptly. The dark form on the sofa stirred. A large head was raised, and two great nostrils sniffed the air loudly. Nabil and Mike did not make a sound. Then there was a chaos. The dark form leaped into the air, urgently scrambling to get off the sofa, a snarling, raging Marmaduke, leaping forward towards Mike, drowned out the baying from the distant bedroom. "Stop him! Do something!" screamed Mike as he too scrambled behind a large armchair. Nabil acted just in time. He threw himself on top of the dog, pinning it firmly to the floor. Slowing it down, Mike saw his chance and took to his heels immediately, heading straight for the front door. Nabil could not keep the writing. Nabil could not keep the writhing animal trapped for very long. It was almost as big as he was and much stronger. Mike reached for the door handle, wrenched it down, pulled open the door, and shot outside. And shoot outside, slamming the door firmly behind him. It was not a moment too soon. It was not a moment too soon. Looking over his shoulder as he raced for the gate, Mike saw Marmaduke's great paws up against the window panes next to the door. The animal's large, unseeing eyes blazed like garnets, and his teeth were bared. His ferocious barks and growls had encouraged the other dogs to bay louder. It seemed as if all the dogs of the neighborhood had joined in the cacophony. Mike leaped up and over the gate, like an athlete in his prime, and collapsed in a heap on the dusty ground. He stood up shakily and, still breathless, dusted his jacket and trousers with trembling hands, From his pocket, he took a large white handkerchief and wiped the sweat off his brow. Bye, Nabil, he called out and waved as he hastily made his way down the road, without even turning to look. I'll call you sometime. Perhaps we can meet in town one day. They never did see each other again.